tonight, she's not a stranger here, and she is always so ready and willing to give us what we need. And I just appreciate you, Rachel. I love your tenacity and your willingness to just trudge through and get it to us. I know you're very well versed in the Hebrew, and I always enjoy when you teach on it. So I'm not going to cut into what you're going to do. I'm just going to introduce the lady of the hour, Miss Rachel Lewinson. Amen.
Thank you. I know. Hi, everybody. Am I on? Can you hear me? Well, I am so happy to be here. I feel like it's been ages since I've been here. For those of you who don't know, I just had a baby about a month ago. So, yay! And I know you're probably wondering, where is he? And I'm glad this is not my first time that I ever preached, because it would have been trial by fire if it was. I actually, up until about 5 minutes before I left the house, I thought my husband and kids were going to be with me. But as soon as I said yes, I agreed to preach. I started having symptoms. The kids started having symptoms, and one by one, they all got sick, and even Orville, except for me and the baby. Thank God, me and the baby have been protected. Each time that the others have gotten sick. So, I'm getting them dressed and looking at their red cheeks and their watery eyes, and I'm like, I shouldn't do this to them. So last minute, thankfully, I was able to call on Rachel Tricarico, so she's downstairs watching Jessie, the newborn, while the others are home. So I'm thankful for her, and probably like when we do the offering or something, she could bring him up and show him off to everybody. Yay! He's doing great, and I always pray for each of my pregnancies. I have 4 kids, that they'll be the perfect addition to the family at the perfect time. I pray that throughout the pregnancy, and it's just awesome to see it manifest. Like the other kids are really loving him, and even Aaron, who was the baby before him, he took like an extra week maybe to warm up to him, but he loves him too. He's constantly giving him kisses and touching his head, so it's really cool to see that. And I've been watching faithfully online, although I haven't been here in person. And I've been just getting so much out of the word from everybody, from Pastor Dan, from Taraka, from Pastor Annie. I just feel so full, and I'm so thankful that we were able to watch online when we can't get here. So hi, everybody. Hopefully there's lots of you out there. I also wanted to say that I'm just really excited about Pastor Dan's promotion that he's just told us about, where he's going to be reaching much larger crowds on different platforms than he's used to here. So, wow, that's really annoying. We'll work it out. Should I move? Should I move it at all? Now it's just not picking me up at all, I don't think. Okay. Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing. I don't think I'm on. Test, test. Okay, that's better. So as I was saying, I'm excited about his promotion, and we should all know that that's a corporate promotion. As he goes out and does these new things and travels more, we all need to step up and be able to hold down the fort when he's not here. And so I get to do that tonight. Yeah, I'm excited. And it's good, give me a little nudge to get out of the house. I might not have gotten out quite this early if it weren't for that. So I'm thankful, because it makes you stronger when you're called on to do these kinds of things. So I'm really excited about 2013. I really believe it's going to be a powerful year. I don't think it's necessarily going to be an easy year. It's definitely going to be a year where we do all get called on to get stronger, but that's a great thing. And I know it's going to be exciting. I'm determined to have fun this year. That's something I haven't done too well the last couple years, but it's cool because each year, the last 3 years, Yahweh has given me just a really short like theme for the year for me. And so 2 years ago it was to not be double-minded. So like the whole year, there was one thing that I prayed consistently. It was, I'm not double-minded. I bind double-mindedness and I loose the mind of Moshiach in me and in every area of my life. And it was really interesting to see how that manifested. It wasn't how I expected, but it was, he really tested a lot of my relationships. And he ended up removing some relationships from me that were not too fruitful. And I had to let those go. And then towards the end of the year, he really, I feel like the big test was what relationship was I going to hold on to, and to really acknowledge and honor the covenant that I have with this family here. If I didn't have this family, I wouldn't have my natural family. And that's something that I'm constantly reminding myself of and thankful for. Because as much as I love them, I met my husband here, and we used our faith for each child. The faith that we've learned here, we've learned how to do that, how to activate that here. So, without all of you, I wouldn't have them. So I'm really thankful for that, and I feel like I did pass that test. It was kind of like, should I go somewhere else? Should I stay? And I really felt like Yahweh saying, this is your family. You got to cling to this family because this is where you're fed. This is where, I speak to you from. Not that he can't speak to me other places, but, to honor that and to not let go of it. And so, great things happened after that. Then the next year was all about fearlessness, taking risks, or what would be considered risks if I didn't have Yahweh. And so, I had been believing to be a stay-at-home mom. I quit my job, and I did that. I had a fourth baby, which I never thought I was going to do. And, I also just dove into the homeschooling, and I'm working on, setting up an actual school. So all those things were, areas where I just went for my dream, and I just believed that against all odds that he would support me, and he did that. So that was last year, and now this year it's like, okay, last year, as awesome as it was, it got tougher and tougher towards the end, and I didn't necessarily enjoy it as much as I should have. And so now this year, it's no doubt, you know how to suppress the fear, but now to really enjoy the ride, enjoy the whole, continue to suppress the fear, but really have no doubt that, he's there, that he's leading you, that, you're going to be able to hear him, and he's going to come through for you, if you do make a mistake. So what I want to talk about today is trusting Yahweh. If you're going to have no fear and no doubt, you need to trust the one who's telling you to have no fear and no doubt. And so it's kind of, it's saying yes, kind of like how to say yes, and who and what are you saying yes to. And those, it might sound kind of obvious, like those are, you can answer those questions really easily, but in the spirit of the Where Am I Now exercise that we're supposed to be doing for those of us in the deeper life, Pastor Dan asked us to evaluate where we are right now in order to, go beyond that for this year and, to create our vision for the year. So if you're going to ask where am I now, you can't really assume anything. You should really evaluate, where you are truthfully. And so there's different levels of trust. There's the trust where, I believe you are who you say you are, and you're going to do what you say you're going to do. But then there's a more intimate level than that, which is, I believe that you're going to do what's best for me, and I trust you with myself, with my life. So that's the level that I'm talking about tonight. And I can't remember if it was a couple weeks ago, but Pastor Dan was talking about the song "He's Able." How we sing, "He's able," and everybody's all excited about, yeah, he's able. He'll move mountains. He can do anything. And then it's like, well, what about you? You're able because he empowers you to do these things, and you got to use his faith. But you do it. Go out there and do what he said you can do. And I actually had a different experience with that song, the same song, but I would sing He's able, and then I will be like, well, yeah, of course He's able, He's God, He can do anything, but is He willing, is He really willing to do it for me? Does He really love me that much? And is He going to do it for me? So that was something that I had to work out for myself, to really believe, yeah, it's for me. And I think those two things go hand in hand, because if you really believe that He's willing and that He wants to do it for you, then it's so much easier for you to go out there and do it, because you know that He's equipping you, He's empowering you to do it, and He's got your back, If you do make a mistake, where you are weak, He is strong, so that gives you the confidence to go out there and do that. Okay, so that's my intro. So saying yes. The first thing that Yahweh told me about, when I was starting to prepare the message, He was like, to say yes is to receive. And so I was like, okay. And then He said, you receive with the intention to give or to distribute. So if you're really saying yes, then you are receiving the supply, the equipment, the provision, the promotion that you need, and simultaneously you're agreeing to distribute it or pay it forward. So I'm not really going to talk about the Hebrew tonight, but I did try to look up the Hebrew word for yes, and it was interesting because there's actually no biblical Hebrew word for yes. The modern Hebrew has ken, which I think is it is, literally it means it is. But in biblical Hebrew, there's no yes and no. So instead, what you have to do, the person asks you a question, and then you have to repeat back to them a part of what they said with your agreement or disagreement. So it's like a more active form of communication, than just like mentally assenting, yes, no. You have to actually participate, hear what they say, repeat it back to them with your yes or no on it. So just to give you an example of what I'm talking about. In Exodus 2, verses 7 and 8, Miriam asks Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and call to thee a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for thee? And Pharaoh's daughter says, go, which means yes in this case. And then also in Genesis 29, 5 and 6, there's a dialogue between Jacob and the men of Haran. And Jacob says, do you know Laban, son of Nahor? The Haranites say, we know. And Jacob says, is he well? And then they say, well. In both cases, they're saying yes, but they have to use the same words. They have to come into agreement even with their words. And I thought that was kind of cool. There are other languages that do that, but I still thought, that says something about the Hebrew mindset. So, just as we've learned that learning in Hebrew, if you really learn something, that means you've applied it. You can't say that you've learned something in the Hebrew to the Hebrew thinker unless you're applying it. And so by the same token, you're not really agreeing. You might think you're agreeing with something, but you're not really agreeing unless you're acting on it. And again, Yahweh said really clearly to me, be not deceived. He said, a lot of my people are deceived into thinking that they're in obedience because they've mentally assented to something, but yet they're sitting idle or they're being distracted. They haven't quite gotten around to doing it. So we've heard that here before. Delayed obedience is disobedience. So this is another way of bringing that home. So I want to go to Matthew 21, and there's a little parable that illustrates this very well. Matthew 21. Verse 28. Okay, and says, but what think ye? A certain man had 2 sons, and he came to the first and said, Son, go work today in my vineyard. He answered and said, I will not. But afterward he repented and went. And he came to the second and said likewise. And he answered and said, I go, sir, and went not. Whether of them twain did the will of his father? They say unto him, the first. Jesus saith unto them, verily I say unto you, that the publicans and the harlots go into the kingdom of God before you. For John came unto you in the way of righteousness, and ye believed him not. But the publicans and the harlots believed him. And ye, when ye had seen it, repented not afterward, that ye might believe him. Okay, so I wanted to read it through through once, so you got the whole thing. But now I want to go back and translate and meditate based on, some of the things that we've learned here, that we've been taught here. So it says, "But what think ye? A certain man had 2 sons." So we know sons can be offspring, or what else can a son be? Reflection, right? So a certain man had 2 reflections. So he's got the reflection with the halo and the angel wings, and the reflection with the horns and the pitchfork. So he's having a conversation with himself, and he comes to the first and says, "Son," or reflection, "go work today in my vineyard." So the key word in this whole parable is today. And in my vineyard, what do you think the vineyard is? Any deeper life people here? It's the vine, yeah. I am the vine, you are the branches. So it's working in the family, in the vine. So he answered and said, and if he was Danielle, it would be myself, told myself, "I will not." But afterward he repented and went. And he came to the second and said likewise. And he answered and said, "I go, sir," and went not. So this is like, yeah, I'm in the deeper life, but today I got my own stuff to do. So today I'm not going to speak to my 3 or my 9, and today I'm not going to read in rhythm, and today I'm not going to do any acts of kindness. But I'll get to it. I'll do it like this week or this month definitely. So that's the delayed obedience. And I have to say, before I go any further, that I'm speaking to myself more than anybody. I love it when I get really convicted when I'm studying. It's just good to know that I'm still, be able to receive the correction. And, it says he chastens his sons. So, I want that chastening. So this is for me as much as anybody. So then it says, "Whether of them twain did the will of the Father? They say unto him, the first. Jesus saith unto them, Verily I say unto you, that the publicans and the harlots go into the kingdom of God before you." And so we're talking about the kingdom of God as in experiencing the kingdom on earth, like in this life, not necessarily, waiting until you die to go to heaven. "For John," or Pastor Dan, "came unto you in the way of righteousness." Righteousness is speaking his words. So, he's taught us to speak the word, and the red letters specifically, speak the red letters. "And ye believed him not. But the publicans and the harlots believed him. And ye, when ye had seen it, repented not afterward, that ye might believe him." So, again, we were just talking about Pastor Dan's promotion. So basically, you could think of it, he's been promoted now to speak to the harlots and the publicans. He's out there in the world, basically. So he's bringing his message to them now. And, of course, we absolutely want them to go into the kingdom. We, at the same time, we're the ones who have been taught already. So we should be the ones already in the kingdom, experiencing it, welcoming them in, leading the way in, rather than scrambling in behind them. Like, oh yeah, they're going, I better get in there. And it's not like it's a competition or anything. It's just that, to whom much is given, much is required. So, for us, it's best for us if we do it and we get in there and we enjoy, the feeling of being able to welcome them in, of being, the ones leading them in. So, we should be leading this movement. He talked about a movement of helpers. So we need to be demonstrating how to help and how to make helpers. And then the repentance, that's another thing that we've been taught here. Repentance is not something that you need to feel bad about. It's a daily discipline. So it's just like, brushing your teeth, taking the shower. It's spiritual hygiene. So every single day, you need to be repenting, examining yourself and repenting. And it's basically just tweaking, allowing him to tweak you day by day as we're on the path to becoming our best selves. Each day we just have to get a little better. So each day we repent, we get a little better. Okay, so then we're in Hebrews this month with the reading in rhythm. And Hebrews 3, in case you don't believe me with this example, it says basically the same thing, but in a different way. So in Hebrews 3, verse 12, it says, "Take heed, brethren," and it's saying brethren, not worldly people, "lest there be in any of you an evil heart of unbelief in departing from the living God. But exhort one another daily while it is called today, lest any of you be hardened through the deceitfulness of sin. For we are made partakers of Christ," or we are becoming our best selves, "if we hold the beginning of our confidence steadfast unto the end." So, we need to set the bar high and stay up there. We're not supposed to be going up and down, kind of all over the board. "While it is said today, if you will hear his voice, harden not your hearts, as in the provocation. For some, when they had heard, did provoke. Howbeit not all that came out of Egypt by Moses. But with whom was he grieved 40 years? Was it not with them that had sinned, whose carcasses fell in the wilderness? And to whom sware he that they should not enter into his rest, but to them that believe not?" So we see that they could not enter in because of unbelief. Okay, so, he's talking about people that should know better, people who have been taught, and they're not enjoying the benefits that they're supposed to be enjoying. They're not entering into their promised land. Okay, so, and unbelief and doubt to me are basically the same thing. So, if it's no doubt, we can't allow any of that unbelief in. We have to harden not our hearts. So if saying yes is receiving and then acting, then we need to ask ourselves, what is Yeshua or Yahweh through Pastor Dan asking us to say yes to? Okay, so one of the things is he's asking us to believe that we are significant, that we can change the world. He's showing us, he's even doing the math for us of how we in our generation can reach every person on the planet, in our lifetime, just by doing these simple principles. And, we need to believe that and grab hold of it. I admit I struggled with it, here and there. I was like, really? Can we, that sounds hard. Like, I don't know how we're going to do this. But over the holidays, I was thinking about my mom a lot. And she has 4 children. I'm the oldest of her 4. And so, even since becoming a mom, I've really thought more about, what was it like for her, and had a lot more empathy and compassion for her than I did before I was a mom. But now, especially having 4, I just find myself thinking about her a lot more often, and what she went through. So she stopped to visit us right after Jesse was born, and she was heading to Germany because one of my brothers just got married to a woman from Germany, so they were going to spend time with her family. And I'm just thinking, okay, here's this woman. She had 4 children. I grew up, got married, had 4 children. My brother after me has 6 children. And then Jeff just got married, and I know they want children. And then the youngest, we'll see, he's not married yet. But so just in this one area of motherhood, she's already in her lifetime influencing. She has major influence over 18 people and counting, and I'm sure she didn't think about that, when she had her first baby. She wasn't thinking, I'm going to have, 10 grandchildren by the time I'm 65. It's like, we don't think that way. So she probably wouldn't have thought, she was going to be that significant. Having that baby at that time was that significant, but it is, and it's the same with us. Just the little steps that we're doing day to day, they're significant. They're going to impact people. And the point about her, it's like she's not in the deeper life, and she's, this is just one area of her life. So it's not like she was really trying to influence these people. It just kind of happened. So it's the same with us again. Like, we're influencing people anyway. It's happening. It's just that either we're going to, take ownership of it and do it on purpose and do it with the very best tools from the Word, or we're just going to haphazardly do it and, uh-oh, what happened? Didn't mean to do that, So it's happening anyway, so we might as well just seize it and, be responsible for it. And I have this little story. It doesn't quite fit in anywhere, but I just feel like I'm supposed to say it for some reason. But so Orville and I really thought 3 kids was our max. And, we agreed on it even before we got married. And we said, we think we can handle that'll be good. And so, we had our 3 kids, and we still felt that way. We still felt like, yeah, we're good. This is our number, 3. And we felt like we're not like the most amazing parents on the planet, of course. We need to grow just like anybody, but we just felt like this is what we can handle, this is what we can afford, this is the right number for us. And we really didn't want to stretch beyond that. But then, Yahweh started dealing with me about it. And for me, the main thing was I really felt like I just didn't have the capacity to be a good mom to more than 3, It's like you only have so much patience, attention, whatever, and you want to be the best mom you can be to each child. So it's just kind of logical and the natural, like if I have a certain number, I'm not going to be as good of a mom to each of them. But Yahweh was like, says who? Like, you're going to limit me? He's like, why are you looking at your capacity, what you have right now, today? And why are you looking at your natural resources or what you think you can get to, in your lifetime? Oh, you of little faith, kind of a thing. It's like, really? You just think you want to stop now, you're done. And I was like, it took me a couple months and several conversations with Orville, like, I really think that he's saying this, but, I don't know. And finally, we got to the point where we're like, okay, yeah, we just feel like we need to be open. Am I going? I think I'm cutting out. Just be open to what he wants. Maybe he wants us to have more. And, when you think about it, some people want more and they can't. So, who are we to say, no thanks, we don't want this gift that you want to give us? That's how we felt. So, it's like the second we had that conversation where we actually agreed and said, okay, it's like, you might as well go buy a pregnancy test now because, it happened that quick. Like, he was really waiting for us to get on board with what he was doing. And it was just, blatant once it happened. So now here I am with 4, and so far I haven't gone crazy. But, that was really a fear of mine. Like, I'm just going to go off the deep end once I have 4. So, we're walking that out. But I just felt like that's for somebody, not necessarily in that area of having kids, but the principle, is important. So, like I was saying, he's asking us to believe that we're significant. So say, I am significant. My life is important. Right. So your successes and failures affect other people's successes and failures. And I know we have a lot of artists in the house, so I have this analogy that might help bring it home a little bit more to kind of, what we're being asked to say yes to this year. So imagine you have a leading role in a play. Your character is absolutely vital to the plot. And your script is the word, and specifically the red letters. Your key lines are the red letters. Most of your scenes are with people that you're serving, your 3, your immediate family. And the cool thing is that we get to help cast those people. So we get to choose, who those people are. And now we also are being given the opportunity to write our own scenes. So for 2013, we're supposed to be thinking about, okay, how is my character going to develop? My best self, avatar, whatever you want to call it. My best self, how, what am I going to do? What am I going to experience? How am I going to grow this year to become that best self? So we do get to think about it, but, we're also told, well, we probably shouldn't just make it up on our own. We need to go to Yahweh and, go up on your watchtower and ask him what your role is. So ask him, why am I in this production? What do you want me to do? How do you want me to help others? And you should, really just tell him, ask him to give you the desires of your heart, because he knows your heart even better than you do. As I was saying, where am I now? This whole thing is kind of like giving you tools to do your where am I now exercise. He's the one who's going to be able to, he knows you better than you know yourself. He knows where you are better than you know. So, ask him to put the right desires in you, give you the desires that you should desire, so that he can have no problem answering them and giving them to you. And I have another little testimony about that. when I first came to this church in 2000, pretty much what drove me here, I would say, is, I was frustrated in the area of looking for a perfect mate. I had been dating someone, quite a while, and it wasn't working out, and I was just like, I can't do this by myself. I need help. And at the same time, I really wasn't close to Yahweh at that point in my life, so I'd also there'd been some deaths of people close to me around that time, and I felt like I really need answers. I need to know, who this Yahweh is. Is he really the God of the Bible? And, I just need to know for myself even before I find that perfect mate. So the very first discipleship program was starting up like soon after I came, a couple months after I came. And so I dove into that, and it was awesome. It was exactly what I needed at that time, because it was a ton of reading of the Word and a ton of journaling, like, soul searching. It was just really good, and there was really no room for anything else in my life. I kind of did a 180. I had been just hanging out with my roommate, going out, partying, whatever, like not really doing anything productive. I mean, I was responsible with my job, but, I was just kind of aimless a little bit. And then this just, I was just like studying constantly and just praying constantly, and it just really, I was so full and just so, I was so enjoying the whole process of, finding out who Yahweh was. And it wasn't boring, I never thought I could enjoy reading the Bible, but I loved every minute of it. And so I actually got to the point where I never thought I would get to, where I was like, okay, Yahweh, you're so awesome, and I love you so much that I really feel that if you want me to be single, if that's what you really want, then I could be okay with that. And even as I was saying it, I was kind of like, what are you doing? But, it was true. I really felt like, okay, I trust him that much. And the great thing about that was, like, as soon as I did that, wham, he was just like, all right, now that you said that, of course I want you to get married. Of course I'm going to bring you your perfect mate. Like, I gave you that desire, that's been in you since you were a little kid. And then I felt really empowered to go after it, Then that was the year that I put it on my, when I did my vision for the year, I was like, this is the year. If nothing else, I'm going to find my perfect mate. And that's when it happened. So, ask him to give you the desires, and a lot of times he'll confirm the desires you already have, but there may be some that are getting you off or something. And then I also want to talk about treasure. I enjoyed your message about where's your treasure, or what is your treasure. I think you had written about it even a couple months ago, and since then, I've been just kind of ruminating on it. Just what is my treasure, and kind of evaluating as I go what my treasure really is. So we all know the scripture, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So one of the ways that I would answer that is my treasure is my permission, basically my free will, and I sometimes feel like free will is more of a curse than a gift, but it can, seems like you want to go the opposite way of Yahweh sometimes, but really, when you think about it, none of this would really matter if we didn't have free will. If we're just drones or mindless robots, it's going to be a pretty dry, uneventful life for us. So, as much as the free will is challenging, it's what makes it fun. It's what makes it worthwhile. So just as we should use his faith when it says, have the God kind of faith, or use his faith, we also should get to the point where we can adopt his will. We can make our free will his will. So I want you to ask yourself if you've truly done that. Have you completely surrendered to his will, or are you still a little bit wary? Are you still trying to figure out, well, what exactly is his will for me? I'm not sure, not sure yet, before you receive it. And another funny little story. I grew up Catholic, as I've said before, and my mom is like super Catholic. My grandmother is probably more Catholic than the Pope. She's like the ultra Catholic, and she knows it. Like, she probably wouldn't say she's more Catholic than the Pope, but deep down she knows. So, from a very little kid, I felt this pressure to be holy and to, love God and be like Him and to really, just adopt their faith. So I used to pray from like 5 years old. I would pray things like, I love you, Yahweh. I really want to do your will. I really want to be who you made me to be. But please don't make me a nun. Just please. We're surrounded by nuns in the Catholic Church. And I went to Catholic school until 12th grade. So I was just like, I really want to get married. Again, the marriage thing was like a major theme throughout my life. Please don't make me a nun. So, and also, in addition to that, I had a problem with forever, like Danielle. Like, I just could not stand the concept of forever. So I would pray. Well, for one, I would pray, please let me grow up and experience life before you end the world, because I hear the world's ending soon. So I'd like to grow up and enjoy this life before you take us out. But I would also be like, forever, are you sure about that forever thing? Because it just seems a little bit too long, Maybe 100,000 years, that should be plenty of time, So it's just funny the way we struggle with, Yahweh and what we think His will might be. And interestingly enough, my mom actually tried to become a nun before she met my dad. And she went through part of the process, and whoever was in charge of the nuns was like, we don't think you have the disposition for this, so you should probably try something else. So praise Yahweh, I'm here. But the reason I bring that up is because, if I'm totally honest with myself, I'd have to say that I still struggle with that a little bit. And now it's more like, well, just don't make me a preacher. I want to be, who you want me to be, but not a preacher. So, and it's not that I'm knocking any preacher, but it's just, I think what I'm really saying in my heart is that, I don't want to be like anybody else that I've seen so far. I want to be who you want me to be, but, my own person, my own reflection of you. I want you to do a new thing in me. And I think we all probably have some of that in us. I was laughing on Sunday with the master class. Pastor Dan was joking with Gloria. She's writing a screenplay, and she has a pastor character in it. And she's like, "Oh, you could play the pastor." And he's like, "Don't typecast me. I'm very versatile. I can do other things." And that's basically what I'm saying. I think we all feel that way. Like, you don't want to be, lumped in some category with other people. You don't want like a cookie cutter kind of a destination. But he doesn't have a cookie cutter for anybody. He really does want to do a new thing in each one of us, and He wants each one of us to become a unique best self. Unique within Him. That's one of those mysteries. We can't really understand it. We can't really wrap our mind around it. But we get to be fully us and fully Him at the same time. So, I'm just encouraging you to embrace what He has for you. Not try to hedge and hesitate. So significance was one of the things that Yahweh is asking us to say yes to through Pastor Dan. Another thing is to prioritize our relationships. So specifically, our relationship with Yahweh and with those who are striving to be like Him. And relationships require quality time together, a lot of quality time together. Usually the more the better. So last time I was preaching, I was talking about this when I was talking about the book of Acts Church, just really looking at them, and we're in Acts again, interestingly enough. Just seeing how much power they had, how committed they were to each other, and a lot of that was just because, they were willing to spend that time together. So I want to go to Acts 2. Let's go to Acts 2. And actually see, I was just surprised at, how often it says daily, and, what kind of details it gave. So in Acts 2, verse 41, it says, "Then they that gladly received His word were baptized, and the same day there were added unto them about 3,000 souls. And they continued steadfastly," so steadfastly, daily, "in the apostles' doctrine and fellowship, and in breaking of bread and in prayers." So they meditated the word together, they fellowshiped together, they ate together, they prayed together. And fear came upon every soul, and many wonders and signs were done by the apostles. And all that believed were together and had all things common. And they sold their possessions and goods and parted them to all men as every man had need. And they, continuing daily with one accord in the temple and breaking bread from house to house, did eat their meat with gladness and singleness of heart, praising God and having favor with all the people. And the Lord added to the church daily such as should be saved. So again, we're back to this daily, every day, today. And, you know, I mean, I sort of freaked out about it a little bit as I was studying, and maybe you're having that reaction too. But we also should keep in mind that we can do this. It's doable today thanks to technology. We really can come together daily. If we can't come together face-to-face every day, you know, we have Facebook, we have the prayer call, we have texting, you know, emailing. There's lots of ways that we can daily come together, you know, while we're working up towards being able to come together face-to-face. I mean, I think the face-to-face is very important, but, you know, we can work up towards it, and we can definitely utilize those other avenues that we have. And I wanted to talk a little bit about homeschooling, because as I mentioned, I'm homeschooling this year, my 2 older kids, and it's definitely very different than I thought it would be. It's because it's really not about, you know, I went through studying all these different curriculum, trying to pick the right one, and just trying to schedule my day and figure out how to make it flow and how to give them this really rich academic experience. And that's important, but, you know, there's some of that in homeschooling, but it's really, the main thing it is you know, who is teaching? Not so much what am I teaching, but who is teaching and what am I putting in them? You know, what am I actually imparting to them on a daily basis? And I'm not, you know, I don't knock any other kind of schooling. I think, you know, people, whatever choice you make, you know, you make the right choice for you, and that's fine. But what I love for me with the homeschooling is it's really been a continuous 24/7 test of, you know, can I be my best self? Can I really impart the right stuff? Because, you know, I don't really get a break from them. Like, from the moment I wake up, they're up before me. They see me get up in my cranky mood. They see me going for the coffee, you know, like, they see everything. So, you know, it's kind of like what I say isn't really as important as who I am being to them every moment of every day. So that's been a, you know, a nice, unexpected surprise. So, you know, our kids are always watching us, always imitating us. And we also know that Yahweh is always with us, right? But a lot of times we don't really think about that so much. You know, we don't meditate on the fact that Jesus is always with us. But I think that's kind of why he gave us children and why he says children are an inheritance, because, you know, if you won't do it, if Yahweh being with you all the time isn't enough of a motivation, then maybe your kids being with you all the time is, both because you love them so much and because, you know, they're going to out you if you're a hypocrite. Like, you know, you can't really hide stuff. Your kids are going to show what's in you. So, you know, it's we talk about being unified in spirit, soul, and body, that we're striving towards that. That's how you become your best self. You need to be able to bring those 3 things into unity. And they talk about that a lot with schooling, too. With homeschooling, a lot of people believe, well, you need the home and the school and the church to all be teaching the same things, the same values. They need to be getting the same kind of instruction from all those places in order to be trained right, you know, in order to really not struggle so much with becoming that best self. So, you know, when we look at the Book of Acts Church, there were kids included while they were gathering in all these places. So for them, you know, church was home and school, and home was church and school, and school was church and home. Like, it was all, pretty much all one. So any way you looked at it, you know, they were getting the best stuff. And so for us, Deeper Life, you know, it's not really a program, but it's actually a mechanism for us to come into unity, to be able to unify all those parts of our lives, and really, get to that point where we're unified in spirit, soul, and body in Yeshua. Sorry, I need to get some water. So in order for us to have no fear and have no doubt, we need to be unified, spirit, soul, and body, really. And this unification is what produces the rest. And it's a productive rest. It's not laziness. Like when I was home, part of me feels guilty that I wasn't here physically, but I really wasn't. I really was being productive. Like I would tune in every single time, take notes. Like I was, almost more attentive and more into it than I would have been if I was here, because I kind of, just got used to my routine, and I was kind of distracted. So I just made sure that time was productive. Okay, and so for those of you who have been here for a while, you've probably heard Pastor Dan say, if you won't rest, you're in rebellion. If you can't rest, you're in unbelief. Okay, so I want to keep that in your mind, and we'll go to Hebrews 4, verses 1 through 13. 1 through 12. So this is what Yahweh says about rest. Let us therefore fear, lest a promise being left us of entering into his rest, any of you should seem to come short of it. For unto us was the gospel preached, as well as unto them. But the word preached did not profit them, not being mixed with faith in them that heard it. For we which have believed do enter into rest, as he said, as I have sworn in my wrath, if they shall enter into my rest, although the works were finished from the foundation of the world. For he spake in a certain place on the seventh day on this wise, and God did rest on the seventh day from all his works. And in this place again, if they shall enter into my rest. Seeing therefore it remaineth that some must enter therein, and they to whom it was first preached entered not in because of unbelief. Again he limiteth a certain day, saying to David, Today, after so long a time, as it is said, Today, if you will hear his voice, harden not your hearts. For if Jesus had given them rest, then would he not afterward have spoken of another day? So what Yeshua did, as powerful as it was, it didn't automatically give us rest and, allow us to become exactly who we're supposed to become. There remaineth therefore a rest to the people of God. This is the key verse that I want you to think about. For he that is entered into his rest, he also hath ceased from his own works, as God did from his. Just let that sink in for a minute. He that is entered into his rest, he also hath ceased from his own works, as God did from his. Let us labor, therefore, to enter into that rest, lest any man fall after the same example of unbelief. Okay, so talking about labor, I have to tell give a little labor illustration. So labor, if any of you have experienced it, or whether you have or not, you know that it's very intense, an intense experience. I'm talking about labor to give birth. And for some reason, it always kind of surprises me and catches me off guard a little bit to go through it, because, if you're pregnant, you're feeling your body change daily. You're feeling the baby sink lower and lower. You're feeling things spread. And you kind of feel, at least I do, like you could just take a step one day and the baby falls out. Like by the end, it just feels like my body's changed a lot and it's ready, But, and when you look at pictures, you see like the distance that the child has to travel from the womb to the fresh air is like, a couple inches. It's not a long distance, okay? But the way is narrow. And, it's intense, like I said. So a lot of the work of labor is actually being able to relax through that extreme discomfort. Your body's working very hard, in that small space to stretch enough to just do what it was designed to do. And so for the mother, a lot of the labor, the intensity of it is just really trying to relax. And I'm horrible at that. I do not have good, enjoyable birth experiences. It's funny because my midwife kept saying, don't think of it as pain, think of it as pressure. You know, it's pressure. And it's, you know, it's good. Just let your body do it. You're just going to breathe this baby out. And I clung to those words. I really hoped she was right. But, I felt some pain, serious pain. So, some people, they get through it a little easier. But for me, it was really hard. And so there's a point to this. The next verse says, for the word of God is quick and powerful and sharper than any two-edged sword. Quick, powerful, sharp, those all relate to labor. Piercing even to the dividing asunder of soul and spirit and of the joints and marrow, and is a discerner of the thoughts and intents of the heart. Okay, so again, this is the same concept. We have to let the word do what it was designed to do, okay? And so for us, a lot of the laboring to enter into rest is being able to relax, through those really uncomfortable moments, not tensing up and taking back control and saying, okay, no, I'm going to do it my way. Never mind. Like we all have those moments. It's like you really just need to relax and let the word do what it's supposed to do. It says the word does not return void. It accomplishes everything it was sent forth to accomplish. We have to believe that. And so you stay with it. You stay focused. Just as you do in labor, you got to breathe until you get to the point where you can rest and enjoy the fruits of your labor. So that would be that's for us, letting your best self take over. So really, you're kind of birthing your best self, through the word, letting the word do what it needs to do and give birth to that best self. So another thing I want you to ask yourself when you're doing Where Am I Now is, to make sure your trust is truly in Him. It's not in any natural strength or ability. A lot of last year, my fearless year, it was actually really about that. Because, I was saying, I'm fearless, I'm just going after things and letting Yahweh work it out. But, I had a savings. We used some of that to wipe out our debt. When I was, right as soon as I said I was leaving my job, Orville got a job, and it wasn't like the job that we were believing for, but it was something. So we had things in the natural that we didn't realize we were relying on, but we were that was like our cushion. And so one by one, those things kind of got stripped away during the year, savings gone. I'm not going to say we're in debt, but, we've used our credit cards, haven't fully paid off the balance. So, it was I thought I was all relaxed and fearless, thought I was actually feeling fearless a lot of the year, but then as more of those things went away, I was like getting more tense and finally started to freak out a little bit. And so Yahweh was showing me, you actually weren't trusting in me. You were still trusting in your own ability or in Orville's ability to get a better job. You were still not really letting me completely take over. But by the end of the year, I really had no choice. Because I wanted to be healthy and have a healthy baby, I was just like, I can't afford to stress. I have to just relax and let him do what he's going to do. And that's when I really got to the point where it's like, wow, okay, really nothing that I have in the natural, is better than him. I really need to just cling to him because, he's always going to be able to bring you whatever you need when you need it. And to even just evaluate, what's his versus what's him. Even if he gave you something, he gave me my family, he gave me certain things. Those things are still not him. So, if I cling too much to what's his, it's gonna harm me. He's gonna take those things away, or they're gonna be taken away, so that I get back to him. But the good news about that is that your best self is him. And if you're married, your spouse's best self is him. So, you can, you don't have to let go of, people that you love. They may not be acting right or whatever. You don't let go of their best self, because that's still him. You still call on that part of them that is their best self. Still see that, no matter what, what they might be acting like, because it's him, so he will never leave you or forsake you. You're always going to have him, so you don't have to worry and get, upset about things not looking right. As long as it's him, you're not going to lose it. And ask yourself, do you trust him? Are you trusting him, or are you trusting your ability to work his principles, work within his system? Are you just using his system to get what you want? Can he really show you and lead you into his will, or are you going to try and keep imposing your will? Are you going to keep questioning it? And then, are you going to allow yourself to arrive at your best self, which was set before the foundation of the world? So, that was a cool thing that he showed me, that, his works were finished when he created the world. So that includes your best self. So your best self exists, and it's just a question of, are you going to be that self? It's there. It's always been there. It always will be there. But are you going to be that self? Are you going to get to enjoy, being who he created you to be? So it's like, put on the full armor of Christ. Put on that best self. Wear it. It's there for you. Okay, and then so significance, relationship, those are two things that he's asking us to say yes to. And single-mindedness, our number one allegiance has to be to him. We have to be a believer first before anything. Hebrews 11:6 says, "But without faith it is impossible to please him. For he that comes to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently or daily seek him." So again, it's all about every day, every moment. If today you hear his voice, harden not your heart. So we got to examine ourselves every day. We got to be getting better every day. Delayed obedience is disobedience. So he's going to be giving you something to obey every day. Okay, and I hope you got something out of that. Are you doing the offering?